Okay, well, we're going to talk about partners today because a partner in your life is going to be the biggest detriment or the biggest help or the biggest distraction while you're getting to the top, or she could be the best tool to get to the top, or she could be the best support to get to the top. But my main issue for the past sort of 10-ish days or so has been the dynamic between me and my partner. Now, my partner is great. I don't want to get into her at the moment, but she's fantastic. But why does it impact us so much around what partners do, what partners don't? And it comes down to this. When we're human beings, here's what I think about, right? We were born and, we were a baby and either mama or papa was there, or only mama or only papa, or for some people, nobody, step papas, foster mamas, foster papa. That's a sick name, foster papa. Yo, foster papa in the building. Anyway, so imagine you have Foster. Foster, jeez, help me. Imagine you're a baby, right? And at the moment, your parents or your significant people are looking after you. Then you go out into the world and then you do something and then some friends are like, nah, don't do that. Or some other people are like, don't do that. And you find out socially where you kind of fit in. Where do you fit in into the social scenario? Now, for me, when I was actually in kindergarten, and what really shaped a lot of my identity was I was in kindergarten, I could only speak Russian, right? Everybody spoke English. And I distinctly remember I was trying to play with the kids and they wouldn't let me play with the kids. And finally they were like, yeah, come here. So they were in like a little cubby house. It was like a little cubby house, probably about this tall. And it was just like, we're talking toddlers. We're talking 3, 4, 5-year-old kids, right? And they're like, come here. So I'm like, oh my God. Oh, they want to play with me, right? So I go in there, and when I come there, they close the door. And I'm like, guys, let me in. And I'm trying to pull on the door. I'm like, please let me in, right? And then I pull on the door and they kind of open it. I go, hey guys, and I put my hands in there, and then they slam the door and break my knuckles. I'm obviously crying in hysterics and I blank out. I don't know what happened. But here's the traumatizing thing. For the next 2 to 3 months, I had a cast all over my hand, broken or sprained hands, whatever it was, right? And I wouldn't be allowed to play because it's too dangerous. So what I would do is I would be seated in the corner of the playground where the teachers could see me, so I can't play with the kids. They literally separated me from the kids, while the kids that hurt me would tease and laugh at me that I couldn't play with them after they were the ones that smashed my hands. And at that point, I decided I was different. I wasn't like the rest of them. I didn't belong. And for a lot of people, we experience a similar feeling somewhere where we experience, we poke out our head and we do something and they say, you don't belong, right? And at that point, a bit of our innocence is robbed. So with partners, what happens is it's the person that says, hey, I choose you and you belong with me. Or they've actually picked you out and they said, yeah, I love you or I like you and I want to hang out with you more. So when we experience by that person a sense of minor rejection, or if they're upset at us, or if something around the topic of that they're not vibing what you're putting down, it in us actually triggers an instinctual response where we begin to feel like, oh, I'm about to not belong again, and we freak the fuck out. Like, freak the fuck out. Now, a lot of people will have different coping mechanisms. My coping mechanism is I would be like, well, you know what? I'm just going to show everyone and I'm going to be the best, because then you can't not like me if I'm the best at everything. And if you look at my life, a lot of my identity has, when I walk into a room or I walk into a new activity, I feel really uncomfortable until I'm the best at it, because that's how I learned to fit in. So in my relationship, when I'm not feeling like I'm the best partner, I fall under the threat response of they may leave me and essentially tell me I don't belong. And eventually that little boy Andrew, that little childhood Andrew, was going to feel like he didn't belong. And partners have a major impact. Partners, family, our closest people to us, we almost have partners. Actually, when you spend time with them, you release oxytocin. Oxytocin is a bonding chemical, also a chemical that is released when a mother has a child. They both have pair bonding. Well, don't quote me pair bonding, but they both have oxytocin released, and oxytocin makes you feel connected, okay? Same as opiates. Opiates trigger the oxytocin reward signal or kind of similar to it. So that's why a lot of people get addicted to opiates, which don't feel like they belong or feel like an outsider. Really all that's happening is they're just stuck in a coping mechanism. But we'll get to helping your drug addictions at some point later, or hoping that you stay away from drugs, or just use drugs responsibly and recreationally if they're legal in your state. Not that I'm condoning this information, only we'll deal with this another day. My point is that I've been struggling with a little high stress responses because I've been in a diet. She's been in a diet as well. We're running a crazy deficit and both experience at times rejection. So it's like trigger, and we're dealing with all this mess. So I'm here to say that we've cleared it out. It's nice now, and we've kind of established a place where she's fine for me to support her through the rest of her shred or the rest of her cut, and I'll take ownership of everything. I've taken personal responsibility for everything, meaning I have taken not only my emotions responsible, but I'm now fully responsible for her emotions as well during this cut. Meaning I am more careful with what I say or what I don't say, and I'm taking it as my responsibility to make sure that I manage my mental state and her mental state, and that's kind of it, to remove the triggers, etc. Having said this, at the same time during this cut, what's happened literally yesterday is my partner's family, mother and stepdad, which she grew up with, now looks like separating. So imagine the stress that you've now got. You're already in a diet, you're already really hungry, your cortisol's really high, you're really stressed, and now you got your family as well that's about, like, your mother and father are falling apart. It's a tough time for her. And at the same time, we've still got our goals and things that we need to accomplish. And at the moment, we are dropping the fat and getting this physique into a pristine state. I've also got turmeric on my shirt from yesterday's cooking class, if you remember. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But anyway, that's what I wanted to drop on you today. And it's interesting because I've been reflecting on it. And when we have an emotional response to anything, it usually is just a defense mechanism or a coping mechanism. So what, Andrew? Does that mean like I can't get emotional at all? No. Emotions are fine. But emotions, we usually feel them fully, they go through us, and they pass and they release. But when you're stuck in an emotion, I'm angry, or why is this person, or this person's so bad, or this thing, or I'm so mad. And when we're stuck in an emotion, it's usually just almost a trigger, and I use trigger lightly. Call it a learned behavior that we've learned to cope with, that we haven't dealt with from our past. And we haven't dealt with it in our past, and instead we see it live as real, real live threats right now as adults or not adults. So in realizing that you have an emotional response, that should be your first step to be like, hang on, something's off, and you need to calm yourself down. You need to accept that nothing in reality is going to kill you, that everything is safe. Just because the partner said, hey, you're not listening to me, or you've had a fight, doesn't mean anything is in trouble. You're not dying. Life isn't over. You've got to calm yourself down and then be able to deal with it appropriately when you're not in the emotion. I don't know if there's anything to get from this one specifically, other than to stay curious and have a look at what your triggers are. What's your pattern? Because you'll find you might be with one partner, or you might find like this pattern keeps repeating. And it's the same way, but it's with different people. Well, if the same thing is happening, but it's different people, newsflash, it's you. And don't take that so heavily. It's okay that it's you. Everybody has them. It just means that that's the bit that you need to address. That's the bit that you need to work on. And if you can break that pattern, and if your whole life feels like brand new all the time and you're not really even experiencing patterns, it means you're living in the present. And like the saying goes, the past has already happened. The future is unwritten. And the now, well, it's the present. It's a gift. That's not the saying. But I don't give a fuck. Do you know why? Because there are no rules. I can take a saying, I can change it, and I can speak it. There are no rules in life. Understanding that you're going to die one day is the most important thing that you'll ever get. One day you're going to die. Everything here is temporary. I respect that you've given me your time, your attention, your knowledge, and I will not disrespect it. Thank you for being here every day. I hope you be the best motherfucking version of yourself. Or, at the very least, do whatever the fuck you want to do today. Fuck everyone else. Peace.